Have you noticed how many life changes come with hair changes? We have postpartum, grief, a breakup, spiritual awakening, and all of a sudden we want to cut it all off or start fresh. That's not random, sis. That's because hair holds emotional memory. It carries the seasons we've been through. You know, I've cried while detangling, I've laughed while trimming my hair, and I've also felt the release just by washing away the weight of a hard week. You know, when you're washing your hair in the shower and just like, and I think that's something we need to talk about more. Like, hair care is also emotional care. Hey loves, welcome back to my channel. It's your girl Amber, and today's video is definitely different but necessary. Okay, we're not talking about the products or hair growth tips. We're going deeper. Okay, we're going into the spiritual and emotional side of hair care, because you know, as Black women especially, our hair isn't just about appearance. It's our identity. It's our protection. It's our story, literally. And when we start to treat it that way, with reverence, with care, and with spiritual awareness, something can shift, not just in our routine, but also in how we see ourselves, okay? So let's talk about it. So I decided to do this video because, you know, I did my last video, the one hair growth secret that no one really talks about. And in that video, I talked briefly about the spiritual side of hair care, right? Just like 1 minute. And people really were interested in that topic. People were like, oh my gosh, sis, you need to elaborate more on this topic. You need to talk more about this topic because this is what we want to see. Like, this is so interesting. Like, we want to know your thoughts. Also, a lot of you girls said like, girl, I didn't know you were a believer. And that's like a real example of people don't always share everything about their lives online. You know, there are so many aspects about my life that people don't know online. And sometimes I decide to talk about it, and sometimes I don't. And I realized maybe this is really something that I need to talk about. So when I saw all these comments, I was like, wait, I need to share this. So yeah, first things first, I want to tell you my journey with Christ and how it started, how I got lost along the way, and how God found me again when I definitely hit at my lowest point. So this is going to be like a little story time in this video, but if you're not interested in this part of the video, you can definitely skip to the next chapter. But this part is definitely for anyone who has ever felt like disconnected in some way from their faith and is longing to come back home. Okay. So this is going to be about my journey, and later we're going to talk about the hair stuff, how it all comes together. So my journey with faith started about 20 years ago when I was like 9 or 10 years old. I'm 30 years old, by the way. And I live in Belgium, and the main languages are Dutch and French. But at that time, when I started to going to church, when I found a church, it was English speaking. And honestly, it was one of the most beautiful communities that I've ever experienced, really. Like, it was super diverse. There were Africans, there were Asians, there were Americans, Europeans, like a true blend of all cultures. And it felt like home, like really like a family. And no one in my family told me to go to church. Like, I went at that young age all by myself because I wanted to. Like, I felt so good in that community, right? I felt seen, I felt accepted, and Sundays were my favorite day of the week because I looked forward to Sunday school, to seeing my best friend, yes, in Sunday school. And I even went to choir practice. Even though, let's be real, let's be honest, I cannot sing. Your girl cannot sing. But I didn't care because I felt so much joy going to that church and being in choir and just singing. But you know, like many of us, life shifted. The church I went to ended up closing. unfortunately, and the pastor and his family moved to another country like Sweden or something like that. And just like that, my safe space disappeared. And yes, there were other churches nearby, but they just didn't feel like my church, right? Many of the churches were like Dutch or French speaking. Mostly white Flemish people went to those type of churches. It's not that they were unkind or something like that, you know? It's just I didn't relate. I didn't see myself going there, so I just stopped going altogether. I wasn't really motivated by the stories, by the vibe, how it felt in that community, in those communities with white Flemish people. It was just different. It's not that it's bad or something, not at all, but it wasn't just my vibe, and that's totally okay. This is not to hurt any feelings or to talk bad about the white Flemish community. It's just, you know, I just didn't relate. That's all. So through my teenage years going into college, I didn't go to church anymore, but I definitely still believed in God, and I still called myself a Christian, but I just didn't practice faith as much as before, right? I was no longer actively seeking Him. Like faith quietly slipped to the background. Like, I'm just gonna be real and honest right now. And then I moved to Brussels for college. Brussels is the capital of Belgium, and it's a huge city. I love Brussels. Brussels is like one of the most diverse cities ever, because when you go to Brussels right now, the capital of Belgium, you don't see like Flemish people, like people from Belgium that like are white Flemish people, because there are not many. There are North Americans, West Africans, Central Africa, like they're like the whole African continent. You can find it in Brussels, but then there's also the whole Asian continent. You can find them in Brussels. There are a ton of expats because, as you all know, Brussels is not only the capital of Belgium, but also the capital of Europe. So like politics in Brussels is a huge thing. Like a ton of European expats, people that work abroad, study abroad, like you find it all here in Brussels. So I love Brussels. Now I live 15 minutes away from Brussels, so I still love it here. It's still super diverse. So yeah, Brussels, love it. So yeah, then I moved to Brussels for college, and I felt this new, vibrant energy. As I said, Brussels is so diverse, and it reminded me of my old church in some ways. Like, I was finding myself and starting fresh and all of that. And I even did a big chop during that time, during my college days. I cut off all my hair and I embraced my natural self. And at that time, I thought this was a beauty decision, but looking back, that was actually God's hand, you know, to be honest. I was seeing a lot of success at that time in my career, in my life. And while I still believed, I wasn't leaning on my faith, you know. I'd prayed sometimes, but not often. And I'd only talk to God when something went wrong. And when things went good, I celebrated alone. Like, I got here all by myself. I carried every win and every burden on my own shoulders. And as a Christian, you know that's not the way to go. But deep down, I actually started to feel guilty that time, because I knew I was drifting. I knew I was neglecting my faith, but I kept pushing it aside. And then I became a mom. Then everything changes, girl. Becoming a mom, like postpartum hit me so hard. It wasn't the perfect glow people post online. It was exhaustion, burnout, anxiety, depression, all wrapped in love for my baby, but a complete loss for myself. Like, I had terrible postpartum experiences, girl. Like, I hit rock bottom, and I remember thinking, like, I have no one. I have literally nothing but God. I only have God, you know. And that was the moment I turned back, to be honest. Like, I wasn't praying for riches or success at that time. I was praying for strength, just to get through the day, just to get out of bed, just to show up for my children. Like, I was that gone, you know. It was also during COVID too, so everything just felt even heavier. But in the middle of all of that, Faith definitely gave me hope at that time and still does. Testimonies reminded me I wasn't alone. Like I held on to every sermon I heard, every prayer, every verse, like it was the only thing that was keeping me afloat. And honestly, it was. So when I look back at my postpartum experience, I was in survival mode. People asked me all the time during my postpartum phase, like, girl, you're so strong. Like people that are in my environment and my friends and stuff, my family. And people told me, you're incredible. You're so strong. Like, how are you doing this? Like, where are you getting that strength from? Like, it's crazy because you're just like, you're a mom, you have your own business, you're doing the damn thing, you wake up every night, you wake up every morning, you wake up every evening, you're there 24/7 for everyone, and you're doing it with grace. It looks like you're doing okay, even though I was dying inside, literally. But still, people were asking me all the time, you're so strong. How do you do all of this? Like, the word strong is what I heard most of the times. And when I look back, I know it's one thing because that's the only thing that I prayed for, strength to get up and to be there for my kids. No, seriously, I'm laughing now, but it's something seriously. The only thing I prayed for was strength, nothing else. I didn't pray for love. I didn't pray for money. I didn't pray for career success or material things or even other things or friendships, whatever. I prayed for strength so I don't have to carry the burden of motherhood and depression and anxiety and business owner stuff all by myself. And God came through. Like, yeah, he definitely did. It's crazy because I'm here today and I'm so proud of the woman I am today. You know, how I'm sitting here with grace still and just, you know, feeling good about myself, feeling good about my life. So yeah, I slowly started to rebuild my relationship with Christ. I prayed not just on my worst days, but also on my best days too this time, okay? I gave thanks in the morning, the afternoons, the nights. Even when I didn't know what to say, I just spoke from the heart or I just didn't say at all. And I was like, God, you know my heart. I don't know what to say, but you know my heart. You feel my heart right now, okay? Am I perfect? Not at all, okay? Do I read the Bible every single day? No, to be honest, okay? But I try. And like I said, God sees my heart, my intentions, and they are pure. And because of that intentional shift, I can say, like, truly, I've never felt more at peace in my life, okay? I'm not rich in money, but I'm rich in love. I'm rich in purpose and I'm rich in clarity, okay? I'm starting to feel more aligned right now and I'm starting to feel whole. I'm starting to feel wealthy in the things that actually matter in my life, right? You know, my life is just all over the place and in chaos still. Things are not going well. Not all things are going well in my life right now, but I feel at peace. I'm like, you know, if it's God's will, then it's God's will, you know, I'm okay. You know, I feel fine. I feel at peace. I feel hopeful. So that things are going to be okay, even though there are like challenging and turbulent times going on right now. I'm going to be okay, you know? So, you know, if you're watching this and you've drifted from God, I just want to say, yeah, like if you feel guilty, if you feel distant or maybe unsure how to come back, I want you to know this, he actually never left. And also that made me think back about a situation that has happened when I was 16. I went with a friend to a medium, you know, and she was actually known to be a witch. And at that time, I didn't know the seriousness about witchcraft or spiritual worshiping that doesn't align with Christianity, like New Age type of stuff. I didn't know how serious that was at that time when I was 16. And the medium that I went to, she was definitely not a fraud or not a scam. She really was a witch. And like, oof, I rebuke all the negative energy coming from this story, but I just want to share this. During that time, like I said, it wasn't during my teenage years. I didn't go to church anymore. I was like, you know, drifting away a bit from my faith. Not intentionally, but unintentionally. And what happened was we went to that medium. I don't know how we got to that point, but I just went there with a friend, right? Me and the other girl. And yeah, don't do that, girls. Don't ever go to medium because it doesn't align with God. Okay, I don't know what type of thing she worships or whatever, but she was, like I said, definitely a witch. She was not a scam because she said some things that were kind of creepy, you know, things that no one knew. Really, she don't know us. She's not from this country. She's from the UK actually, and she traveled to Belgium. I don't know why. And she was like, you know, everything happens for a reason. Well, I don't know why I'm sitting here with you two girls, but it's happening for a reason. And she told my friend something. She said, you know, now you're sitting here, you have this vision for your life, but I see you definitely not in this country. You're not going to stay here. She was like, wait, what? I'm not going to stay here, so I'm going to abroad. I'm going to travel or something like that. She was like, no, you're going to live like somewhere far away. And I see you on these long haul flights, constantly flying, you know, with an airplane. And she was like, so I'm gonna be an air hostess? And she was like, yeah, basically. So that was already super confusing and she never really thought about it. But later it turned out like now she lives in Dubai and I don't know if she's still an air hostess, but she was an air hostess for Etihad Airways. Okay, for Abu Dhabi or Emirates. No, it was Etihad. So she did the long haul flights. Like, and that was not something that was then. She was like, okay, now I'm going to study for flight attendant, whatever. But we went to college together. She went to university, studied communications. All of a sudden, she dropped out of class and she was like, I have this urge to be a flight attendant on the other side of the world. Like, and it was not because of the medium, like I said, but it was like she really wanted to do it. She really, really wanted to. She went to Paris for an interview, and then she did a whole thing, and then she did training in another country, in Brussels, and then, oh my gosh, it was like this whole thing. She got rejected, but she tried again, and she was accepted. It was crazy. Okay, but that's just my friend. But then, when it came to me, girl, you know what she said? At that time, I didn't know what I was gonna do with my life. And my hair was still relaxed, by the way. My hair was so broken off. Like the moment I stepped in that room, she was like talking to my friend, but she was like constantly like, you know, looking at me for some reason. Like she got distracted by me or something like that, but I was just listening to her. And she all of a sudden said like, okay, I don't know what it is, but you're just constantly doing something with your arms, like, and then she did this. Like she was raking products, like she was just raking products in my hair, just this movement, like, you know, the praying hands method to distribute the product in your curls, and like doing this, you know, like fluffing up your curls with like an afro pick and stuff. Like I had a lot of hair, and I never knew at that time that I had a lot of hair. Okay, my hair was always like this or this, relaxed, broken off, and very, very damaged. Okay, so she was doing this and she's like, I see you, like you're constantly playing in your hair and you're constantly busy with your hair for some reason. I'm like, okay, weird, but okay. And then she said some other things, not going into detail right now because it's so weird and stuff, and also don't want to give this too much of the attention that it wants to have, this energy, but definitely don't recommend mediumship to anyone. But then she said something to me, and till this day I will always remember, and she's like, you know, there's someone just standing behind you right now, and don't be scared because it doesn't want you to be scared. It's this big male figure and it's protecting you. And she was like, don't look back, don't be scared, but it's protecting you at all times. And I was like, wait, a male figure that is protecting me, like is protecting over me and just watching over me at all times. Who could that be? At that time, I was thinking, wait, I do have a family member that is deceased not so long ago. Maybe that's that person that is just like, no, girl, who could protect me at all times and tells me not to be scared. I got you, sis. It was God. God has been there all my life. I didn't even notice. I was just like living life, but God was there all the time protecting me and just removing all the negative energy from my life without me knowing. He was always there. And that's why I give thanks because, yeah, he was there all along. I shouldn't have worried all this time, but he's there. He never left. That's why I wanted to say he never left. If you're thinking about he's leaving or he left or I don't see him, I don't hear him, he is there. You just need to seek him and he will answer. Oof. Okay. So yeah, I don't know. This was a little bit about my story with Christ. This is the first time I've ever sharing this with anyone, I think, online. Yeah, for sure. It's crazy. It's crazy. So let me know what you think about my story in the comment section. I would love to talk about this way more. But now on to the hair care part, because I know you want to know what happened with my hair journey and this spiritual hair care journey. Okay, so for a long time I definitely thought hair care was just about products and routines and tips and tricks and maintenance, whatever. But the deeper I walked in faith, the more I realized my hair journey was never just physical. It was also something spiritual. So when I did my big chop, I thought it was just like a style decision with a fresh look for a new chapter in college. But now I see it as a divine reset or a divine setup. Cutting off all the damage and starting over wasn't just about my hair. It was a reflection of what God was about to do in my life. And I was shedding what no longer served me spiritually, emotionally, and physically. So I was cutting it all off, all the damage, all that weight. And as I rebuilt my relationship with Christ during the most difficult season of my life, like I said, through postpartum, also through burnout and complete surrender, I began to see my hair differently too, no longer as a chore, but also as a sacred part of me, as a part that deserved like softness, reverence, patience, just like my soul. So yeah, that's why I said also in my previous video, I stopped letting just anyone touch my hair. I started protecting my crown, not just with satin, butters, oils, and products, but also with prayer and intention, because I realized energy is real, and the way someone speaks over you even while doing your hair can either pour life into you or pull you away from who God says who you are. Like I said, energy is real. Like, I'm a huge energy girl. I listen to my gut feeling, and we might not always see it, but we feel it. That's what I said. I'm an energy girl. And whether it's a stylist, a friend, or even a stranger, when someone touches your hair, they enter a very personal and also a spiritual space, at least for me. And if that person is carrying stress, gossip, bitterness, jealousy, or even just like a chaotic spirit, it definitely can transfer. I've definitely felt that. I sat in salon chairs and I left feeling more drained than how I arrived. Not because my hair wasn't done right, but just because the atmosphere and the energy was heavy from the stylist. Like, the conversations were low vibrational, the hands in my hair weren't just speaking life, like the energy was just off. You can feel it. I don't know. I don't know how to explain it, but sometimes you can just feel it, right? But now my wash days are more than self-care. They are soul care. That's what I like to call it. Like, it's my soul care, self-care moment when I light up a candle. I thank God for the woman I'm becoming. I bless my hands. I bless my body as they work through every part, every strand. And I pray for strength. Like, for years, I've been praying for strength, for peace, for growth, both in my hair and my spirit. Okay, so if no one has ever told you this before, your hair journey is valid. Okay, your frustrations, your grief, your pride, all of it matters, honestly. But I also want to remind you that your hair journey can also be a healing journey, one that brings you back to yourself, back to softness, and also back to intention. And you don't need a miracle product to do all of that. You just need presence. Yeah. Okay, so the next time you do your hair, try something different. Slow down, set a tone, and like most importantly, speak kindly. And remember, your crown deserves more than just products. It deserves your care, your presence, and your love. So yeah, girl, thank you for holding space with me today. If this message resonated with you, definitely let me know in the comments. This was something new for me, so I'm very curious. What does your hair mean to you spiritually or emotionally? Let's have this conversation further in the comment section, okay? And as always, don't forget to like, comment, and subscribe, and share this video with someone who needs to hear it. Thank you so much for watching, and I'll see you in my next video. Bye bye.